All right, so I'm gonna head out to the garage. This is actually the second time I'll be doing this project. I put out a video about that, but I have the new piece of stock milled up and ready to go. So I've laid out the project based on that stock dimensions. So as you can see, what I'm cutting out is basically 8 small trivets for raclette. If you know what that is. It's pretty fun dinner and pretty entertaining. So look it up. But basically, what we're going to do is I've got a relatively simple job, and so I'm going to start with a 1/16 inch bit. So this is a 1/16 inch Sharp Pro upcut bit, and I'm going to cut out the roughing pass of the names and the flag to get started. And so if we go look at this pass, you can see basically we're going to cut to a depth of 2.6 millimeters. We're going to go down, because this is a pretty small bit, we're going to use a 0.8 millimeter depth per pass. Moving at 2220 millimeters per minute, and the spindle RPM is 18,000. I am going to leave stock to leave of about, I'm going to leave a stock to leave of 0.3 millimeters, and that'll get cleaned up in the finishing pass. So you can see here we're doing, we're doing a light step down, but then in the finishing pass, I've got it set up to do a full depth, and so that's why the two different passes. So this time the bit will go all the way to the bottom and run that profile and clean it all up. And I find that gives a nicer edge profile, and definitely if you are going for tolerance, this puts less stress on the bit, because basically what it's doing is it's trimming off that last 0.3 millimeters that are left on the sidewalls. So just as a, that's kind of an order of operations that I've been doing for a while, and I find that it generates pretty good results. From there, we're going to, it's again pretty simple. So we're going to cut out the names and the flag. We're going to finish that, and we're going to do a roughing cut on the outside. The reason I want to do this in a couple different stages is I want to rough cut it so that because the stock piece that I'm working with is pretty tight, I don't have a lot of room after some planer snipe and a couple things. I don't have a lot of room for error. So I'm going to rough cut it, and if I look at this pass, I am going to leave 0.8 millimeters. So basically the outside cut is going to be 0.8 millimeters larger. I'm going to use a 1/8 inch compression bit. This one's from Speed Tools, and I'm doing a depth of pass of 1.9 millimeters. So far that's been working well for me with this bit. And then what's going to happen is I'm going to stop there. And once I do that, I'm going to pour the epoxy in the outlines. So I'll pour, I believe I'm using a black epoxy here and a red epoxy for the Swiss flag. Once the epoxy sets up, then I will do a surfacing pass to clean up the epoxy. So on the surfacing pass, I'm going to come down 0.5 millimeters, and that just helps clean off that top layer of wood, clean off any epoxy. It really just makes the sanding process that much faster, because there's always, I overfill. Anytime I pour epoxy, I tend to overfill, and the reason for that is you do get some shrinkage with the epoxy. So you go out and pour it. If you pour it totally flush, you have less sanding and stuff, but usually what ends up happening is the epoxy shrinks slightly when it cures, and you end up with a bit of a dip. So I like to overfill mine, and then using the surfacing pass, clean it up and reduce the amount of sanding. So for this, I'll be using a 1-inch surfacing bit, again from Speed Tools. This is uses the carbide inserts. I find I like those ones quite a bit, because it's quick and easy to change out the bit, change out the cutting blade, and you get 4 uses of each blade, which is nice. So if you don't have a surfacing bit, I definitely recommend checking this one out. It's worked well for me. We'll be slowing the spindle down 14,000 RPMs and a feed rate of 2,600 millimeters per minute. And again, we can do a depth of pass of up to 1 millimeter, is what I've generally done for this bit. I can go a little more aggressive, but Again, for this, we're only going down 0.5 millimeters. I'm going to use a raster cut, meaning it's going to go on an angle. And I find that provides a little bit better surface finish than a straight cut. And one of the options that MillMage allows for is that, so I might as well take advantage of it. And then lastly, I'm going to come in and do the final outline cut. For this, I'm going to leave some shallow but long tabs. So I'm leaving 12 millimeter tabs, but they're only a millimeter, millimeter and a half thick, and I'll trim that up with the router afterwards. Yeah, so that's kind of the job. So here we'll turn a couple of these on. So with MillMage, if you haven't worked with it before, basically these are my different toolpaths. I've got the different outputs. So by turning these on, when I generate the G code or the preview, it's only going to include these cuts. So I can have all these things pre-staged, but unless I turn them on when I go to generate the, oops, the wrong button. Yes. So when I go to do the save G code, you can see it's only going to include those three operations, which is what I want. Okay, so if I go look at the preview with those three turned on, make this bigger and zoom out a little bit. So if I back this up, back this up here. There we go. So we can see we're going to start with the flags here on this side, letters, finish the flags, detail pass, and the cutout. So this is the roughing cutout, and we're going to stop there. So that's perfect. So then what I would do is, like I said, I would run the surfacing pass. Now, here's just a FYI, if you're using MillMage, if I go to operations, there is a surfacing operation. Because of the confines that I'm working with, it was better for me to do a pocket cut with a surfacing bit than it was to use the surfacing pass. And the reason for that is the surfacing pass is designed to surface large stocks. So let's say you had a live edge slab or something along those lines. It's going to surface that material, which is great, but it's designed to go outside the bounding box. So it actually goes outside the bounding box by about half a bit width all the way around, and that would hit my clamps and all kinds of things. So in my case, for this specific operation, it was better for me to define a pocket and define this and keep it inside this bounding box. Because of the way I'm pouring the epoxy, I'm not too worried about these corners here where that surfacing bit's not going to be able to get, because there shouldn't be much epoxy there anyways, and on this corner as well. So again, that was more of a deliberate action than anything else. And like I said, just with that surfacing pass, it goes outside the bounding box by half a bit width. Now I could have figured that out and define the bounding box for it, but there's really not that much difference between a pocket and a surfacing operation in the case of this, but just the reason why I picked a pocket versus the surfacing pass. So it is there if you want to use it, but just note that it will go outside your bounding box by half the bit width. So we'll take a quick look at that. This is a pretty simple operation. Basically what we want to see is that, yeah, it is going to stay inside the bounding box that I defined, and it is going to run that raster. So you can see that oops, back a bit up here. There we go. You can see that it's traveling on the angle defined for that raster, and then doing a final around the profile finishing. So then I would turn that off, and I'll generate the G code for just the outline cut file. We'll take a quick look at that. You can see I've got tabs in play, so those are the long flat tabs, and I find those just trim up a bit better, and hopefully leave less of a mark on the side of the project. But yeah, that looks like it'll clean up well enough. You can see, like I said, the spacing I'm working with. This part of the board has a chunk of snipe in it, so I tried to start the work pieces as far this way as I could. and everything looks to fit, but I am going to have very little material here, which is why I left, you can see here the tabs. I'll zoom in a bit more. The tabs are aligned. So the reason the tabs are aligned is that should allow the material between these two pieces to stay intact. If they were offset, they might detach because there's this little stick here in between is not going to be very big. So that's why I lined up all the tabs to hopefully keep everything in place. So with the job defined, I think we're ready to get out to the garage.